So what you guys read Moby Dick? Yes. So that's the Siemens Bethel. That's the wellness thing stuff. Yeah, it's written right there. Great point. Yeah. So ARPA funding we can decide. Decide 75% matching grants, right? Up to $40,000. So we've got a lot of nice facades. Now Josh has been in that program, and I don't know if expand or what, but yeah, I don't. Do you have any idea of this particular case how much they put in?
I don't know at this site. No.
Yeah. The approach that we generally take into ARPA is a transactional one, which is to say, although we put some of it into our general fund just to stabilize our budget, it is almost entirely gone for one-time expenses, and we've made people compete for it. So as to leverage as much as we can. So as you see these projects here, the housing developments, this stuff, the Whaling Museum, we're connecting up the funding with the work lines, and I don't know. I hope they are. People see a lot of construction going on. President Biden said he was associated with conference mayors with fighting that battle for a long time. I think there are a lot of skeptics in Congress who think that the money directed to the cities is going to be squandered. But I find it interesting. I assume that already have by now been congressional hearings on look at so-and-so mayor. He blew it on his kid's wedding or whatever, and stuff like outrageous stories like that. There hasn't been anything like that so far. I mean, there've been one-off stories, that's drawn a whole lot of attention.
No, there's pickleball courts, but other than that,
yeah. Well, we've done a little bit. We put about $6 million into the performing arts center, right? So people can grouse about that, but what we've done for anything that is, I mean, the reality is that what we spent very little of it is actually COVID related, and even though it's nominally COVID relief funding, but we've spent a fair amount on lawyers to make sure that everything we've done has been rock solid, consistent with the letter of ARPA regs for that purpose, and we've vetted all these projects very finely for that. The cities the world was done very well by ARPA. I think like a lot of others, it's like a lot of other places in transition to more takeout.
Yeah, I think the city was quick to act on outdoor dining and revamp any code that needed to be changed to allow for permit that outdoor dining, which we capitalized on hugely.
Yeah. Hey, Steve. All right, Mr. Mayor. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for hosting us. So, Steve.
Thank you. Originally, they're in DC. Thank you.
So Steve is the executive director of the housing.
Oh, okay.
And so a creative set of financing mechanisms that redevelopment the housing authority is able to contribute significantly to the financing of this project. You can explain how you had that surplus and created a sort of a nonprofit to facilitate.
Yeah, formed an affiliate through the Housing Authority in order to be able to do some development work in the city. And this is one of them that, Housing Authority had some excess cash and didn't know what to do with. So we're doing basically what a lot of other housing authorities around the country are doing. And just, we're limited by the fair cloth limit by how many housing units we can have.
Okay.
So the only way around that is you build it outside of the Housing Authority arena, so to speak. So that's what this is all about, 45 units, studio 1s and 2s, 15 studios, 20 one bedrooms and 15 two-bedrooms.
Okay.
So 45 units altogether. It's about a $30 million project. We called it, when we did the groundbreaking, the mayor told we did called it Project Perseverance. It's about 5 years in the making to get it off the ground, but it's here.
Well, you couldn't ask for a better spot. I mean, it's nice and central.
Yeah, and remember, what was there was pretty. So this was a really, a nice corner, added look to downtown. We kept them over, we did building next door. So we get new construction on one side, and we got 8 units on the, you see the orange staging.
Yeah.
So there's 8 units in an existing building that we maintain that have historic character. And we're rebuilding that to dispense this to what the historic commission is asking us to do, although we don't have any tax on that building.
What you can't see is those upper floors have water views, which is pretty Signal Harbor.
Yeah, with a balcony on the front, communal balcony. I had seen it done in Utah when I went out to visit my son, so anybody can reserve the space whenever they go. You want to watch the fireworks, anybody in the building can just go out there, it's a place to sit, just take advantage of the view.
Yeah.
It is $1 million view.
Yeah.
This building in a seaport district would be $100 million building.
Yeah. Up from Boston.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it just takes that to make the numbers work. Our money, I don't think this would have happened. For ARPA money, I should say, if it was for ARPA money, I don't know if we would have made this project. It was that important to the project. The construction costs are very high, and there's not much we can do to control that. The rent's somewhat limited to what we can do. AMIs that we're dealing with on the rents. So. Without some gap funding to make it work from, ARPA monies and the housing authority monies, it just wouldn't have happened.
42 units?
45.
45.
Yeah.
The difficulty we have here in New Bedford when it comes to constructing new housing stems from the overlap of two very different markets. The construction market in New England is a New England-wide market, right? Contractors in New England build all of Boston, right? And so the cost of construction here is not that much lower than it is in Greater Boston. The rents are far lower, and so it makes the return on investments like these, if it were done by the private sector, much more modest here. And so that's why we've really struggled to build more housing. It's not as though people are looking for housing here. Yeah, man.
Okay, we have a pretty high culture, especially in our downtown.
Yeah.
A lot of public art.
There was some other thing there,
It's probably a really long story. But anyway, let me see if we can put this. It's called Custom House Square. That really regulates the oldest operating custom house in the United States. Strange idea.
Cross-pollinate.
Yeah, cross-pollinate. Yeah. So once that's done, you guys are going to have retail on the ground floor.
Side, yeah.
Yeah. The facade looks great. Watch your back now. Yeah, we've got 500 fishing vessels. vessels here, a lot of them just idle their engines, right? To keep the pumps going. They are parking now on it'll be a $32 million renovation, so they'll be closed for over the next year, more than the next year. But that 32 million, they will have got almost 6 million city ARPA funds, and then another 7 in state ARPA funds. So that's there's a couple of other sources of public, I think they have market tax credits going on too, but that's usually a lot of short-term things.
No, so you're looking at Maryland, Virginia area, and then this is the next leg. So doing some places in New York, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and then
All on the bus. How do you fly? Point to point.
There's gonna be a,
where you cut the wheel and you're driving.
Oh, amazing.
Gordon is our big property development manager, and then I'm our neighbor.
But so my district. We'll do a little late to the party on that. Design around that.
John LaFrance, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
How you been?
Good.
Good.
Trying to wrap this up. Finally.
Getting close.
Yeah.
Getting real close. So the National League of Cities is doing a tour of 100 cities to mark their 100th anniversary. So one of their stops is the Bedford. They want to talk about federal funding, or projects that have benefited from federal funding, and ARPA funds in particular. And so Sean's project, you guys, let's see, close to 2 million in ARPA funds.
Yep.
1.8.
1.775.
Yeah. So, and as well as a number of funds, like some historic tax credits, some home funds for a few of the units. Most of this is going to be market rate housing, but it's almost done.
Yeah.
It's got great views, and everybody wants to move in there.
I would imagine. Yeah. Yeah, it started off as, it's 3 different structures. It's the granite structure, the wood structure around the corner is the brick structure. All built like in early 1800s. This building was originally like in this parking lot, was moved here. We had to reconstruct it structurally, but it's been a great project, obviously, without the feasible. So it's come a long way. But we have there's 28 units. There's 26 on this side and 2 on top of the brick building, and then there's 1 retail space on the ground floor. We secure the restaurant parking to operate that on the ground floor of National Park. So it's kind of like a row house style. So there's the first floor. All the first floor units off entrance off of Commercial Street, and then there's a common corridor for the second and third floor. And the third floor has a 4th floor. Oh, gotcha. So, but we're getting there now. It's in the next few weeks we'll start leasing out spaces. Excited for that.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. It's people have been looking forward to this because it's it's central to, obviously, to a lot of stuff, to restaurants, and obviously you got great water views here, and so it's going to be a pretty cool site. It's so visible itself. So this is sort of a facade of the whole downtown. So it's like this area to the city's front porch, right? So the interaction with the waterfront is from an urban planning standpoint is really important. So making everything look good here draws people across, and work we're doing on the other side will continue to draw more people in the other direction. And so we start to knit the waterfront and the downtown together in a way that hasn't existed in 60 years or so. So that's been a big part of our effort. had a good tour. That was fun. That was a good way to start the day. Yeah, that was good. I'm so glad it's not raining right now, because that would have spoiled all the fun. But so we have just a brief program right now, just to talk a little bit about what we're all doing here. We're not just out for a morning stroll. We're here to talk about a number of important things related to New Bedford's ongoing projects, and as well as to celebrate the 100th anniversary of one of the leading organizations when it comes to urban policy and urban affairs in the United States, the National League of Cities. If you can't tell by the bus behind me, but in any case, I want to just say a few things about the NLC, as well as I'll say something about the projects we saw just briefly, and then we'll talk about the NLC. So, we've been. Anybody who's been to New Bedford recently has seen the work going on, the level of development, the level of the amount of building going on has exceeded that we've seen at any point in the last, certainly in the last 20 years. And it's not just one type of project, it's all kinds of projects. It's housing developments. There's more housing being built right now than at any point, certainly in the last 20 years. The renovation of our Performing Arts Center, the Zeiterion, the Whaling Museum is undergoing a big project. The Y, there are lots of restaurants being built, daycare centers, and then a whole lot of infrastructure, underground infrastructure that you don't see, but it's really important. You know it when it doesn't work, when your sink doesn't work, but water and wastewater and a whole lot of other things, as well as port projects. Right now, we're in the midst of a 10-year pipeline of over $1 billion worth of port projects. There's more port construction going on right now in New Bedford than at any point since New Bedford was the center of the world's whaling industry. It's and look, all of this is leading to somewhere. That somewhere is a more vibrant, more autonomous, and a stronger city. And so we're very pleased with the progress, of course, but it takes a lot of work. And it takes a lot of work on the part of a lot of folks. And I just want to thank all of our city employees for doing the little extra. We've been pressed with staffing shortages over the last couple of years, despite the throughput of a whole lot of work. And our city residents have really stepped up, and I'm grateful for that. And I just want them to know that. I'm grateful also for the funding that makes these projects happen. We have, as we came out of the pandemic, there were a lot of challenges, public health, of course, but also financial as well as other. And we're still sort of unpacking all of that now, but we've been able, we have benefited enormously from the fact that that funding has come from the federal government in a big way. The Biden administration has pushed through some huge legislation, historic legislation, it's no exaggeration, that has enabled America to get back on its feet. America is doing much better now by virtue of the fact that the Biden administration, coupled with Congress, were able to push through things like the American Rescue Plan Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS and Science Act. All of these and still more legislation have enabled us to do, us in particular, to do these projects, like other cities around the country. I think we do our projects pretty well. I can't speak for other cities, but I except to say that all of America is benefiting from this. The work that we have done has been to stretch that money as far as possible. In the case of ARPA projects, we've used ARPA essentially to gap finance a lot of the stuff that you guys have seen around the city. It's been funding that we've used to leverage other funds so that we can take what it will be about $82 million and to stretch it into something far greater, $400 or $500 million. And so that's worked very well. So we're pleased with all that. All that legislation couldn't have happened without the advocacy of a whole lot of folks. I'm going to focus in particular on ARPA because ARPA and the BIL, because those two pieces of legislation were really pushed hard by America's cities and the organizations that represent America's cities, the NLC as well as a number of other organizations. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of work going to Congress, going to the administration, convincing them that money should come not through the states but directly to cities. And there were a lot of folks in Congress in particular that questioned, and as well as in a whole lot of state capital, that questioned whether money sent directly to the cities would be squandered by cities, right? There's always the skepticism, this sort of, I want to call it holier than thou outlook that sometimes in Congress that suggests that the local level can't handle all that dough, can't handle a whole lot of responsibility. I think the American public would take issue with that. After all, the American public these days holds local government much higher regard than Congress, and I think Congressmen and women have started to come around to the realization that cities are where things happen. And I will say that's not something that President Biden had to be persuaded of. As someone who had once been a local official, he appreciated that stuff happens at the local level, at the municipal level, and especially when given the resources, cities can implement stuff and get stuff done. But the NLC was right there in making all of those arguments at a time when there was a lot of uncertainty as to how much money should be committed, how it should be committed, what the rules of the game are. And so now, fast forward, now it's been 3 years now since ARPA was passed, and you see building across the country like this. And you see it in places where there hadn't been like a considerable amount of building, right? There's some places that had virtually none. You're seeing it all over the place. And I just want to say, I want to thank the NLC, Clarence Anthony, who's a friend and who's the executive director of the NLC, and has been for a long time, as well as Tom Cochran at the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Did a great job in advancing these arguments, and cities in America are benefiting from it. And while you're seeing the building, you're not seeing pushback from Congress. You're not seeing congressional hearings saying the city squandered the money, the cities did this and that. What you're seeing is a whole lot of people celebrating. You're seeing those same congressmen that had doubts showing up at ribbon cuttings across the country. That's a pretty cool thing. So I just want to say thanks to the NLC in a very big way. I want to announce today that in my budget that I'll be submitting to the City Council in a week, 10 days or so, that we are putting money in to rejoin the NLC. This is something that I think the city's benefited from. We kind of lapsed during the pandemic, but we're going to be putting that in. I know I've talked to Councilor Pereira about that, whom you'll hear from in a second, but that's who himself values the work of the NLC. But this is something that we want to get back involved in, because I think you guys just do fantastic work. So I have here on the occasion of not just the current victories by the NLC, but their 100th anniversary of their existence and all the victories in the last 100 years they've been able to secure on behalf of American cities. I want to just commemorate it with a proclamation from their favorite city among the 100 they are visiting here in New Bedford. And I want to call up John Kuhl, who will also speak in a second, to come on up. I'll read the proclamation. The resolution, and it says here, the City of New Bedford hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to the National League of Cities in celebration of a century of leadership and support to America's cities by helping shape federal policy, advocating for municipal interests, and strengthening local leadership. The entire citizenry of New Bedford extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion. Signed by me on this second day of May 2024. Congratulations on 100 great years, and here's to the next 100, John. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to call you up in a second. I just wanted to offer Councilor Pereira to come on up. Councilor Pereira is a big fan of the NLC and is somebody who's eager to get going in the work of working with the NLC. And I really appreciate that he sees the value in it. And I want to ask you, Ryan, to come on up and say a few words on this occasion.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to the NLC for making New Bedford one of your stops on your 100-city tour across our nation. Over the past 100 years, our nation and New Bedford have seen many changes. 100 years ago, New Bedford was emerging as a textile and manufacturing powerhouse, recovering from the decline of our famous whaling industry. Following the outsourcing of jobs and the decline of American manufacturing, New Bedford returned to our roots, the waterfront, fostering our important fishing industry while expanding our port to be a national leader in renewable energy with the offshore wind sector. Immigration has shaped our city over these past 100 years, from Irish immigrants in the early 20th century to the waves of Portuguese immigrants, including many of my family members, to the first Cape Verdeans to come to the United States, and now our friends in the Latin American community, all calling New Bedford home, while adding their native cultures, further diversifying New Bedford. However, some things have remained constant. Our commercial fishing port continues to be a national leader, bringing in over $400 million worth of see-through through our hurricane barrier. New Bedford's sons and daughters continue to shape federal and state policy and lead a resilient city and people. And over these 100 years, the National League of Cities has stood by America's communities and New Bedford as a true partner to aid our growth, expansion, and even our survival. So I want to congratulate the National League of Cities on celebrating 100 years. I look forward to another 100 years of partnership. We'll be long gone, but we know that New Bedford and the National League of Cities will survive to continue fostering important growth. So I'd like to invite John up again. So I have an official resolution from the New Bedford City Council. Be it hereby known to all that the City Council of New Bedford, Massachusetts hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to the National League of Cities in recognition of your centennial celebration and your continued dedicated service to America's cities. The entire citizenry extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued good fortune, given the second day of May 2024, signed by the entire City Council, Council President Naomi Carney, at-large councilors Ian Abreu, Brian Gomes, Linda Morad, Shane Burgo, myself, Councilor of Ward 6, Ryan Pereira, Councilor of Ward 5, Joseph Lopes, Councilor of Ward 4, Derek Baptiste, Councilor of Ward 3, Sean Oliver, Councilor of Ward 2, Maria Giesta, and Councilor of Ward 1, Leo Choquette. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Council Member, and thank you, Mayor Mitchell. My name is John Kuhl with the National League of Cities. Our team came in late afternoon yesterday. We had a great dinner at the Black Whale, and then we went to the arcade afterwards. And I think at some point in the evening, everyone said, I could move here. So be careful, we might be reaching out for job offers at some point, but we're so thrilled to be here. This is our 100-year anniversary. We're doing a lot of things to celebrate it. We're writing a book. We're having a big City Summit conference in Tampa later this year. But the thing that we are all most excited about is doing this roadshow where we're stopping at 100 cities from across the country. And of course, we're so thrilled to be here in New Bedford as one of the 100. Because it gives us a chance to really see what you all are doing on the ground, walking around today to see how you are leveraging your ARPA funding to do all these housing projects. So we're just thrilled and honored to be here. So thank you for welcoming us. Thank you for being engaged with our organization. We're thrilled to have you back. And as a token of our appreciation, we worked with an artist to have a mural created, and it represents everything from the biggest cities in the U.S. down to the smallest village. And we wanted to present that to you today, and we've got one afterwards that we'll have you sign. But thank you again so much.
That's really cool. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's really cool. Thank you. Take a picture, John.
Squeeze it if you could. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Beautiful.
All right.
And we've got one for you guys to sign.
Yeah, well, happy to. So I just, so John, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That's really cool. One of them kind of looks like New Bedford. We'll claim it. Collage. It's good. Looks real good. I wanted to call up our Director of Housing and Community Development, Josh Amaral, to say a few words. We looked at a number of the housing projects that he and his team have been advancing, and it looks great. They're almost ready to move into it. The one right over here, you heard it. Sean LaFrance said June 1st, and so that's less than a month away. So we're going to hold them to that, and then up the street, that's later this year. It sounds like in September at 117 Union. But we really appreciate the work that all of you guys at HCD have been doing to advance these projects. And I want to get the boss up here to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. I'll keep it brief. I know we want to get the literal show back on the road, but we're here to celebrate the National League of Cities and their 100 years of dedicated service to municipalities across the country. We've talked a lot today about how smart cities operate and how we plan for the future, and so we also have to keep our eyes on years 101 plus, right? We've talked also about how cities with good plans, with access to capital through federal funds like ARPA, are able to use them smartly to advance the interests of their citizens and the goals of their cities. Our office, the Housing Community Development Office, is the administering department for the Community Development Block Grant and Home Funds, which are also in a number of the projects here in the city. The mayor mentions, right, there's some hesitance sometimes in giving money directly to cities, but the success of the Community Development Block Grant and Home programs historically have been notable. ARPA itself, while we've treated it as a huge influx of resources to achieve these goals in the short term, is really reminiscent of the earlier days of the Community Development Block Grant, which over the last 50 years, over the half of the lifespan of the National League of Cities, has not kept up with inflation over time. The home program has been flat at a time where we need more and more housing development in cities to make it happen. And so we advocate for those resources as well. We know that a steady annual stream of Community Development Block Grant dollars and home program dollars would allow us to continue on and continue to have the successes that we demonstrated here today and that the National League of Cities have observed and seen all across the country. Housing development is one of our big goals, where hopefully we can develop enough units that the NLC staff can move to New Bedford without any difficulty. But we appreciate your time and spending with us here today, and thank you for all you do.
All right, sounds good. All right, so we'll take that picture. Where should we go?
Happy 100 LLC from Bedford, Massachusetts.